So, Emma, I suppose we're here with you today. It's a little bit of a different situation for us. It's great to finally be able to get over here to England, seeing as we haven't really been able to do much recently, but this is our first kind of trip away, and I tell you what, it's something we wouldn't normally see either. So I would ask you how you got here, but I'd say it's a little bit of a long story too, so we'll get into that. How did you start into driving machinery?
Well, I sort of, at the time, I was at college and I worked on a farm. This bloke called James Faulkner, he took me on sort of, when I went for the interview, I went in there plastered with grease and dirt all over me, and because my brother at the time, he worked on a farm and I used to go with him, and I did a bit of tractor driving there, and he sort of taught me how to drive a tractor, and then Joe sort of really gave me like my first break. He really took a chance, and if it wasn't for him, I definitely wouldn't be sat in this seat now. He, he taught me a lot between him and his team. They really sort of got me going in an industry that was sort of hard to find a gap in, I guess. So I guess I got him to thank for that, really. And I don't know, machinery, I guess I just like the variety of machinery at the time. Sort of every day looked different, but I do like having a variety of work, and the machinery side of the variety sort of really picked up. It picked up and sort of smacked me to have a
something different every day.
Yeah.
And tell me now, did you ever think that you'd be here driving a John Deere 9RX?
Never, and never ever. I'd never even imagined it. I never thought that, even in I'd seen pictures on social media of people having 9RXs, and I definitely never thought that at 23 someone would be, oh, here's a 9RX, please go and cultivate this field. It's just nothing that I ever expected, ever. It's like someone's put me in a dream and I'm waiting to be pinched to wake up still.
And you were telling me as well that you prefer the cultivation side of it.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I find cultivating is quite a satisfying job. You sort of really, it really puts harvest to an end, I guess, and you then got the rush of cultivating and getting everything drilled up, and cultivating is really like, Anna said it to me, she said it's like turning over a new leaf for another year. You get to pull out all of the ruts and make a level field, and I think you can go into a field full of ruts and bumps, and coming out with a level ground is quite a satisfying job, really. It shows you're doing something rather than just putting something in the ground and going.
And I tell you what, how did you kind of find, especially when you first started on the 9RX, how did you find kind of switching up to something of this scale?
It was quite a shock to the system. Even now it can still be a shock to the system. It was quite, I'd never experienced anything like this. When I started at Joe's 6 years ago, he had a 7530 John Deere, and he demoed a 3-metre top-down, and that, the demo, he came out, he set it up, and I never dreamed that I'd be on a 6-metre with a tractor like this, and it's quite, I don't know, it's a bit mind-blowing still, really. Everything up here is quite mind-blowing compared to sort of down in Kent. Even like the grain stores, you get sent to a grain store to go and tip up a load of wheat, and it just blows your head out of the window. It's colossal, really.
No, and I suppose you were kind of telling me as well that people said that you'd never end up where you were either.
I mean, I was 12 years old when I wanted to start driving tractors, and I was told then that I would never get anywhere in an industry like this, and I'd never make it as a tractor driver. And it sort of set a seed in my brain that no matter what happened, I wasn't going to give up. And now I've sort of got there. I think it's set now. I'm quite proud that I've achieved to get this far. Like I say, this isn't an experience you come across every day at all, really. It's sort of,
no.
It is still not quite real. Yeah, but it's quite an achievement that I was told that, and I guess they sort of pushed me, setting that there, they pushed me a long way forward, Yeah.
And sure, you're not the only woman, would say, that's driving for Charles as well. He has quite a few on the team.
Yeah, so Anna Charles's wife, she came to the farm as a harvest student, and she's a phenomenal person. I've never sort of seen. It's so nice to really. This is the first farm that I've really worked with like other girls on tractors and other women on tractors. I mean, Harriet, she's sort of, this is her first year really driving tractors, and she reminds me a lot of when I first started, like the worry and the panic all the time. And if she sticks at it, I really do think that she'll go far.
Like, how do you find that she is on the roads? Like, because I know she's got the wider tracks on her. So that must be very intimidating, first of all, for other users on the road. But how do you find it kind of driving, especially through the small villages around here?
Oh, it's horrifying. It's the first time I took it on the road, I refused. I just couldn't bring myself to go over 27k. It's a 30k tractor, and I couldn't bring myself to go over 27k for more than half a mile. I was absolutely terrified the whole way home. It was absolutely mortifying. And sitting in the cab, you sort of don't realise the sheer size of it, and there's just so much to look out for in it as well. It's absolutely like colossal. You just don't realise it, and then you sort of, in this cab, it just looks a lot smaller, and then you get out and think, oh, it's actually really big. This is a phenomenal machine. John Deere have made an absolutely phenomenal machine. You could never fault them on what they've done. Like I say, but that 7.5 John Deere, she'll always be at the top.
Had you worked with GPS before? Is this kind of the first machine that you've really used, and how are you finding it?
I've used GPS before on like Joe's farm. Joe taught me how to use GPS. Since I started using GPS, it has changed. I used to do a lot of manure spreading, so that required GPS because a lot of it was like way cell spreaders, so it had to be what they called like precise spreading. Yes, I suppose GPS, it does just take it's just another one of those things that just does take off your mind. And it's quite nice, like with this RTK, it makes things able to, like tonight, if I wanted to finish tonight halfway through this field, I wouldn't have to come back out in the morning and put another AB line in. I could just come back out, go and carry on, which sometimes
Yeah.
when you're tired, it's quite nice not to have to sit and fiddle with that. That sounds really lazy, actually, but it's just, there is perks to it. It does make it nice, and it's just quite nice seeing, you know, when you finish, these nice straight lines rather than a wiggle.
And I suppose, what would be your favourite thing then about driving a machine as big as the 9RX?
It's quite nice, this sounds awful, to sit up quite high because of being a short person. I don't feel as small. You know, it's quite funny, the looks, you know, the looks you get on the road is a funny thing anyway, and then when people sort of look up and see it's a female, you get even funnier looks, which is, yeah, it's quite nice. I remember we were silaging one night and a whole pub raised their glasses, and it's quite nice that, you know, in an industry, like I say, it's very male orientated, this industry, and it's quite nice that people do actually appreciate that farming as a woman isn't an easy thing, even outside of the industry. So I guess it's a nice buzz that people sort of realise outside of yourself what you're doing, that I might be a female, but there's not many 23-year-olds driving one of these in the country.
Exactly, yeah.
You know, quad tracks are quite common. These 9RXs aren't quite so common, you know. And like my old boss, when I first got this job, I phoned my old boss Joe up, and he said to me, that how proud he was, and it's just really nice to have that, you know, someone that was sort of like my first boss telling me how proud he is now. It's sort of, that really hits home, and it makes it that little bit more achievable, and you feel a bit better for it.
And I tell you what, it's a real credit to you anyway. Thanks for letting us out here today, and I'll let you get on with your job, seeing as it's getting late enough as it is.
Thank you very much.